Billy Joe Saunders joined us yesterday to give us his take on Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith, the rematch. And he was none too excited about it. I've got to be quite honest with you. Simon described Chris Eubank Jr. What did you call him? A charlatan?
I did.
Okay, thanks for that. Where are we going with this? Are you excited by it? Is anybody?
Listen, I think that the fight was so conclusive. I think going into that fight, no one really knew what way it was going to go. Could Eubank step up every time? And I'd heard an interview from Simon before saying every time he has stepped up to world class. Billy Joe Saunders, George Groves, he's fallen short. But the manner that Liam Smith won that contest, it was so conclusive. You just go, well, how do we go into that rematch? But I understand it from Eubank's side, because Eubank goes, well, if he doesn't activate that rematch clause that was put in place, where does he go? He has to retire, surely, because it was such a conclusive ending. Yeah, absolutely. So, I heard your comments about Charlatan and the fakeness of it all.
Well, I mean,
where's he going with that?
I think on a rematch, he's been hoisted by his own petard because he's the one that put the rematch clause in.
Yeah.
And that rematch clause was put in because it might have been a slightly dubious decision at the end of it, given the geography being in the northwest, given his popularity in that part of the world, maybe wasn't where he wanted it to be in terms of people's perception of how Liam Smith would be the home fighter. All that was put in for a rematch.
Sure.
I don't see how you can't call him a charlatan. We have to listen dawn till dusk about who he's going to fight, when he's going to fight, and what it's going to be, and alongside how big his house is and how much money he's got out of particular fights. Well, I think champions are champions. They don't talk about being champions. They don't badge themselves as champions and not become champions. If you put yourself he puts himself at that level. I don't put him there. He puts himself there.
But I think if you look at previous performances against, like, say, Billy Joe and George Groves, who was up at super middleweight, he did lose. But what I'm saying is that he showed a lot more durability and he put up much more of a fight. He lost, but Charlatan might be a bit strong. I don't know if
you're a boxer. Look, you're a boxer. You know more than I will ever know. A good fight isn't one you put up. A good fight is one you win. Right? So we can all put up good fights.
But you don't tell me you don't get good fights where the guys have both knocked bells out of each other and you go, well, that was a good effort and a good fight.
And what they are is normally self-effacing, slight humility. Chris Eubank is a walking advertisement for Chris Eubank. Mm-hmm. He will be telling us where he's at, what he should be. And quite frankly, he's done remarkably well for someone that's actually never won anything to be probably the most bankable, second or third most bankable British boxer in this country.
But he should be commended for that, as you say.
Well, yes, but that doesn't make him...
It's all about self-promotion.
But that doesn't make him a great fighter. That makes him a great promoter of himself. So when I talk about charlatan, I talk about charlatan based upon his own standards of where he puts himself. He puts himself as elite at the table. He tells us he's going to fight Gennady Golovkin. He tells us he's going to win a world title.
But that's just self-belief, surely.
Sure, and on that basis, you should evaluate that, because whether it's self-belief, it's brouhaha, it's hype, or it's actually what he thinks, right, can all be debated. But when you're talking about someone that presents himself in the way that Chris does, I only need to be 50%. I only need to be 60%. Yeah. I can eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? This person's a bum. Billy Joe Saunders, I throw a bet up in the air because he's got knocked out because he's a coward by Canelo Evers and quit on the stool. All of that stuff then puts you on offer.
Well, so when you're on offer,
you can then have that makes you a charlatan.
But then you found out he's got a decent property in Vegas, which is probably bigger than your property in Marbella, and you were annoyed.
No.
Yes, you were.
I'm a great believer in people being able to achieve things. I've not got one covetous bone in my body. But what I do believe in as professional sport, I'm interested in seeing what you do, not what you say you're going to do. I think Chris Eubank is a remarkable talent in certain respects, but I also think when it comes to the point where you're actually at it, here we go, Billy Joe Saunders beat him, George Groves beat him, in goes Liam Smith, who's a light middleweight.
Yeah, and can he win that return? Can he win that return? I'll tell you something that I found quite intriguing, was that he actually starts the bookie's favourite going into the return.
Because Eubank Jr.
Yeah.
Because he's the P.T. Barnum of boxing. It's smoke and mirrors. He's a snake oil salesman. He should hang around more with Eddie Hearn. The bottom line is that he can make people convinced it's not over here, it's over there.
Yeah.
Spencer, I mean, this is a serious question. Rematch clauses, do they not need changing?
Yeah.
And redefined, if you like?
Yeah, I would like to see them changed, because I think that they carry a little bit too much weight. I get that the champion has to have some form of insurance,
right?
But the problem we get with these rematch clauses, and this
champion.
is where it needs to. Yeah, you got the champ. Yeah, but what I'm saying is
champion of what?
That the rematch clause, like in this situation, Hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm trying to explain something. You're just
trying to help
You're
you,
throwing me
Simon.
off. You're not helping me at all.
Spencer,
But
it's been
rematch
like this all
clauses,
morning,
I think
mate.
they need changing. I think they need to be slightly looser. I think in the fight that we had there with Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr., for example, it was so conclusive, one-sided. I'm not sure that he should have to go straight back into that
So
rematch.
a conditional rematch clause.
Yeah, there you go.
There should
Thank-
only be-
now you're helping me.
There should only
Now
really
you're
be
helping
me. You're
Spencer,
beyond
I'm trying to be serious
You're
here.
beyond
There should only just be a rematch if the first time around it, say it was a split decision.
Yeah.
A split points decision.
That's what we're kind of saying, aren't
That's
we?
what- yeah.
A conditional rematch clause.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there's no... The reasons why this was put in was because Chris Eubank wanted to protect himself.
Yes.
Right.
And that doesn't... I mean, on one hand, he's telling everyone he only have to be 50%. On the other hand, he's suggesting he needs a rematch clause in it. They don't kind of add up.
Well,
add up,
yeah,
do
he
they?
recognised it. He
And
knew he was in
the
a hard
challenge
fight.
is now in this situation is why do we have to see Chris Eubank... Because Chris Eubank Jr. wants to right the wrong. Well, you had that chance.
Yeah.
You told everyone that you only need to be 60%. You got knocked out.
Yeah.
No elbow in the face stopped you from getting up.
Yeah.
You were knocked out.
Yes, right.
Right?
Okay.
End of discussion.
You're going to
Next.
stick to your opinion that Chris Eubank Jr. is a charlatan. And Chris, if you're listening to
think
this,
I think that's a
lunchtime,
bit strong. I
we
think that's
wish
a
you
bit
well.
strong. That's another conversation. Maybe on
Pretender.
our award-winning podcast.